This is NIADA TV, the official streaming TV show for the National Independent Automobile Dealers Association, whose mission is to promote, educate, and advocate for the nation's independent dealers. Let's get today's show started. Welcome to NIADA TV, the official streaming show of the National Independent Automobile Dealers Association. I'm your host, Corey Mosley, and I'm thrilled to have you with us. We have another great show for you today, including my interview with Blaize Brimer, General Manager of Pokey Brimer Auto Sales. But before we get to that, let's take a look at some of the latest headlines shaping the industry. O'Brien joins NIADA as Government Relations Director. Continuing its mission to grow the voice of independent automobile dealers, NIADA announces the addition of Patrick O'Brien as the Director of Government Relations and Compliance. O'Brien, who has more than 25 years of experience working for Congress, federal agencies, and directing government relations for multiple associations, joined NIADA on May 19th. I couldn't be more excited about joining NIADA at such an important time in Washington, O'Brien said. Small and independently owned businesses drive economic growth. We need to foster a common-sense regulatory framework that reflects that reality. O'Brien comes to NIADA after serving as the staff director for the External Affairs Division at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Montana governor signs bill on starter interrupt devices. Past time, with the help of NIADA, the Montana IADA, and the state association president Chad Randash, owner of Randash Auto Center in Bozeman, successfully worked to amend a recent law enacted in Montana regarding kill switches. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte signed the bill into law on May 8th. Montana SB 364, introduced by Montana State Senator Kenneth Bogner earlier this year, focused on establishing legal limits on the remote activation of kill switches, or starter interrupt devices, technologies that can disable or interfere with the function of personally owned electronic devices or motor vehicles. After meeting with Pastime and hearing from NIADA and MTIADA representation and understanding the potential issue, Senator Bogner agreed to an addendum to the bill with a specific exemption for motor vehicles that are financed or have a loan associated with them. Blaize Brimer, General Manager of Pokey Brimer Auto Sales in Oxford, Alabama, recently joined me for a conversation about growing up in the car business, the value of fixed ops 20 groups, and his upcoming role as a panelist at this year's convention. Here's that conversation. Now, Blaize, I want to first thank you for joining us, and I want to jump right in here. Now, you didn't just decide to get in the car business. You were practically born into it. Tell our viewers really what it was like growing up around the dealership and ultimately how that shaped the leader you are today at the dealership.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And so you're right. I was born into the dealership. And so, like any kid whose family owns a dealership, I grew up at the car lot. When I was a kid, after I learned how to walk, next thing I learned to do was wash a car. After that, I did all the little basic things at the car lot. I put buyer's guides in windshields, put dried up tags, decals, just all that good little stuff. And so I've been in the car business ever since I could walk. But I'll kind of tell you a quick little story that really hooked me into the car business. Uh, you know, we were in our spring break when I was 13 years old, and my father came in. It's kind of flustered, and he said, "I had a salesman quit." And so, just like any 13-year-old who's a know-it-all, I told my father, "Hey, I can step in and handle it, no worries." And long story short, my first day I sold a car, and the next day he took me to the car auction, and needless to say, that was it for me. After that, I knew what I wanted to be. And so after that, I've been uh, hooked to him, and we go to all kinds of conventions, 20 group meetings, and I'm the car guy. But really, I'm a buy here, pay here car guy.
And that is an interesting distinction for everybody, right? Because it's not the same world in many cases in terms of what it takes to be successful in that environment versus some more traditional ones. Now, in keeping with that, you were recently featured in the NIADA article "Hot Topic: Buy What You Know." So what was it like being part of that conversation, and what do you think is the biggest message right now dealers should take from that?
Sure. So one of the beauties of the buy here, pay here world is that there's many ways to do this thing. So what I'm saying is not the gospel. It's just one of the things that we do that's successful for us. And basically, what that article talks about is limiting the number of models of vehicles you buy. And what I mean by this is this. 10 years ago, we would go to the auction and we would look at vehicles, and if they had these certain parameters, if the mileage was this much or less, or if it brought this much, we would buy it. And so we would have 40 to 50 different models, makes, years, and we'd sell. And sooner or later, they'd come in and they'd have 40 to 50 unique problems to that vehicle. And so what we've done recently over the past couple of years is we've limited that number of vehicles to 10 or 15 select models, and we've become masters of those. And what I mean by that is we buy the same thing over and over. Our mechanics learn how to work on them, and it's just really made our life simple uh, on that aspect of the world.
Now, that is a really phenomenal strategy in terms of thinking about economies of scale and knowledge base, particularly if your mechanics and team are working on their own vehicles. Now, Blaize, we've been talking about, I should say, a lot about the Power of 20 groups on right here on NIADA
Right.
TV. And I know you've got some firsthand experience. From your perspective, what makes these groups so valuable? I think especially when it comes to fixed ops and service.
Sure. So I'm in a Service 20 group, and I can tell you that has by far been the best thing that I've been a part of. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you're here local by yourself, you don't really want to tell your competition what you're doing because, either A, it's a great idea and they're going to steal it, or B, it's a terrible idea and they're going to say, yeah, keep doing that. You're doing a great job. So, when you get together with people from all over the world here, all over the country, you know, they can say, hey, this is not what you need to do. This is what you really need to do. Or they'll say, hey, I like this. Tell me more. And so you really put, uh, you know, whether it's usually me and my dad talking to each other and it's our ideas, now we have 20 or 30 different people that we're talking to, and we're just kind of building a brain trust. And it's just really helped us expand our business.
Now, your dealership is in Oxford, Alabama, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you're hitting the stage. You're going to be traveling to Vegas, slightly different, right? You're going to be hitting the
Well,
stage.
bro.
Yeah, you're going to be hitting the stage as a panelist at this year's convention. So that's the Big Spotlight, Big Ideas panel. What are you most excited to share with attendees, and what do you hope they leave the room thinking about differently?
Well, I just really would like to challenge on you kind of get into the monotony of the same thing over and over again. And I'll tell you this, uh, I love going to these conventions because you just constantly learn, you know, the buy here, pay here world. If you do the same thing that you did 5 years ago, you're behind and it's hard to catch up. You know, I try to go to these things every time I can. And when I miss one and I come back the next year, I just go, man, I'm behind. I don't like that feeling. I need to get caught up and I need to get ahead of the game.
Wow. Well, we are super excited to hearing some more great ideas, just like the one you shared here. Blaize Brimer, General Manager of Pokey Brimer Auto Sales. Thanks for joining NIADA TV today.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you guys for having me.
Very welcome. Well, that does it for today's show. Thanks for watching, and be sure to share this episode with your industry friends, partners, and colleagues. I'm Corey Mosley for NIADA TV, and I will see you next time.